video is the continuation of our analysis in faculty attitudes towards online education. So in the last video, let us show that. So in our last video, we end up with our interpretation per item. So for item 1, item 5, item 6, which is the student's learning. So we considered computing for the value of mean simply because by central limit theorem, the number of respondents involved in that data set is 30, and 30 is sufficient large enough for us to use the mean. And then the next thing that we need to do now is to determine what is the meaning or what is the qualitative description of values 2.32, 2.2, 2.6, and 2.37, which are the values computed as the value of mean. So going back to our guide for interpretation, for instance, so then since 2.32 is within the range of 1.5 to 2.49, 2.2 is also within this range, then we can say that the respondents agreed with items 1 and 5, while for item 6, it is 2.6 and 2.6 is within 2.5 to 2.49, which also means now that they disagreed with item number 6. We also computed for the value of the overall mean and come up with 2.37. And 2.37 based again in our scale for interpretation is negative, which means that the faculty attitudes toward online education in terms of students' learning is negative. Now, what if our data is not equal to 30 or it's not 30 and above? So let us consider another data set. So this data set, wherein the number of respondents is only 14. So just like what we did in the video in computing for the value of the mean, so we just simply enter the command equal sign average and select item 1, 5, and 6, and then just drag our data or our cell rather to compute now for the mean of this. And it turned out that the attitude of respondent 1 is 1, which is very negative. 1 and 2 is very negative. 3 to 6 is negative, and so on. So we can count for the frequency and its percent now by coming up again with the data analysis histogram and generating frequency and then computing for the value of the percent. So the same procedure for the last data set. However, our concern is that we mentioned last time that this is the table. We mentioned last time that for us to determine for the appropriate measure, we need to check for the normality of the data, especially that our data is at this interval. So this is the classification of our data set. So it is ratio, and then it must be checked first if it is normal or skewed because it did not satisfy the central limit theorem stating that if it is 30 and above, we can already say that it is normally distributed. So let's go back. So to check for the normality, we will use the online calculator, one sample Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. So for instance, we are going to consider searching for the online calculator in the Google. All you need to do is to click quick statistics calculator, and you can find this site, www.socscistatistics.com. So you just need to click quick statistics calculator, and then we're going to locate the test that we need, and the test is the Kolmogorov-Smirnov test of normality. So what you need to do is just to copy. So let's go back to our data set. This is our data set. We will copy, for instance, item 1 and check if this data is normally distributed. So just copy and paste in our box and click calculate. And then we need to see if the data is normally distributed based now in the initial analysis. So as mentioned in previous videos, we have to consider that if it is above 0.05, it means that the data is normally distributed. And it is also indicated here that the data does not differ significantly from which is normally distributed. So item 1 is normally distributed. We again need to do that for item number 5. So we will just simply copy and paste it here. And then do the same procedure, click calculate. So it will again provide you with the value of the mean, the median, standard deviation, and all other values. So it is above 0.05, it is 0.43828. Again, it is indicated here that it does not differ significantly in the normal data, so it is normally distributed. So we will also check for item number 6, Control C, and Control V. So Control C is the shortcut key for copying. Control V is shortcut key for pasting. And then click calculate. It will provide us with our data. So p-value is 0.46. It is above 0.05, so the data is normally distributed. So lastly, we have to consider the values of the mean. So let us place it here and then calculate. So based from the computation, it is 0.9492, which means that the data again is normally distributed. So no doubt we can use mean to describe now item 1, item 5, item 6, and the overall